I was, as a senator, as a United States Senator, a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And as Vice President of the United States, we demand that Congress pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Joe Biden will sign it. And we should not delay, and we will not be denied. It is non-negotiable.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Vice President on that. It should have been done in the 117th Congress when Democrats had all the power. But that's just me. Now, the funeral was held on Wednesday for Nichols at the Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in Memphis, Tennessee. And this is Tyre Nichols. Let's put up his picture. Don't let it be forgotten that he was murdered. Tyre Nichols died on January the 10th after being beaten by Memphis Police Department officers during a January 7th traffic stop. And videos of the attacks that killed him have dominated the news since before they were released. Let's take a look at those responsible for Tyre's death. All 5 police officers, black police officers. And then we don't want to forget this person either, who they hid for a very long time. Here's another officer that was engaged. So we got it. But the point here is specifically what the Vice President said, which I do agree with. Let's put this up. I was a senator. As a United States Senator, a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and as Vice President of the United States, we demand that Congress pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Joe Biden will sign it, and we should not delay, and we will not be denied. It is non-negotiable. Okay, hooray. Let's put up this headline. Tyre Nichols' mother urges Congress to pass George Floyd Justice and Policing Act after her son's fatal beating. Because change has not come, why has it taken so long? Sometimes we get so accustomed, Mayor, of people who got the power standing up acting like they don't have the power. And that's what I take issue with. I want to see full-fledged lobbying and the use of the bully pulpit and the power that both the presidency and the vice presidency holds, instead of that power acting as though it is helpless. It is not. This should have been done. So in agreement with everything that she said, let's see how much of their political clout they're gonna put on the line to get this passed when they could have done it in the last Congress.
And I think that's the issue I have with the vice president. How do you skip? You go 2020, you had a statement about the George Floyd Policing Act. 2020, April 2021, you say something to Congress about they need to pass it. And then we wait till another death before you demand it, before it becomes non-negotiable. Why wasn't it non-negotiable? Not after Tyre, but before Tyre's death. Why wasn't it non-negotiable 1,353 black souls ago? This idea that you can say this in this moment doesn't ring true when we haven't seen the fight behind this administration to pass George Floyd Act. Stop putting it in election cycles, and we are in the 2024 election cycle where you can use us as a volume point. You had a meeting last week, Madam Vice President, with black men to tell them how to talk to other black men about democratic policies, not to listen. And some of us who are less, acquired in those spaces weren't invited to those meetings, because you can't tell me how to talk to black men about issues that are killing us. You can't tell us that something is non-negotiable when you haven't been at the negotiating table for almost 3 years. That ain't how we negotiate. That ain't how you fight undeniably for our rights, for our lives. So this idea that you can sit at the funeral is one thing. Let's see the work and plans behind it. You can't tell me that it is a non-negotiable when you took money, COVID money, when we saw more black men die than anybody else from COVID, and give more money to support police officers during COVID with COVID funds than you did with black men in our communities. I am not convinced. It sounds nice at a funeral when all of us are in black, but what are you doing today to show me it's non-negotiable?
Come on, Mayor, come on. And that's my point. And to the black community, stop being so damn gullible. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. and being complicit in our own demise. Where was this fire? George Floyd's mama wanted the same thing. Sandra Bland's mama wanted the same thing. Their whole string of mamas and daddies who wanted the same thing, but yet here we are again. Action and no more excuses. How much of the firepower of those two offices are they gonna put on the line to make sure that this is done? And even then, that still is not going to be enough. That is just the beginning. Stop militarizing the police. Stop giving more funding to police departments. Start giving more funding on the social justice side of the ledger. Jesus, Mary and Joe. This is a Black Jesus moment. Yeah, it is. I'm with you. I'm over the whispering of the sweet nothings. I'm with Janet Jackson on this one. What have you done for me lately?
Ever. What have you done for us ever as it pertains to policing, right? I feel your fire and it's just. This is the righteous indignation that caused Jesus to flip tables, to curse his disciples as they slept when he was crying, right? They slept while he was weeping blood. The Black community has been weeping blood from our eyes for centuries about policing, about racial targeting. And all we get from our supposedly representation in Washington, D.C. and at the state level and local levels too, is the same thing. More police and this idea of public safety. Well, if the public was safe, Tyre wouldn't be in a grave.
There it is.
If the public was safe, Black people wouldn't be overrepresented in those who are killed by police officers. And I'm talking about overwhelming. We're a small percentage of the population, but a majority, if you look at it, those who are in prison, over sentenced, over tried, and all things on the negative side of this social marker, we make up those numbers. And that is not by mistake. It's by the grand design of the United States of America's policing apparatus.
That's it, it's on purpose. It's not by accident. And I like to say, Mayor, from the streets to the courts, this entire legal system is corrupt as hell. That's the entire thing.